seat. I'm the voice that bounds to a ruthless beat.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What is up, everybody? It's your boy, the Italian Stallion. And no, don't check your calendar. It is not Sunday night. It is Saturday night. And I'm coming for you because I would like to at least get one viewer. I'm sure people are watching college basketball right now or the Olympics. But of course, I'm here to entertain you guys in case you all are listening on the road or need something to listen to here in the next couple of days just to catch up on your Canes in the off season. But that be told, yes, it is Stallion Speaks, and I am the Italian Stallion for another episode. And this episode's entitled "Don't Lie to Me." We'll talk about that here in a second. First and foremost, got to give a lot of love to all of our subscribers, man. First and foremost, I want to thank each and every one of you that watch Rebels with the Cause channel. 194 subscribers. I'd love to get to 200 subscribers here in the next couple of weeks as we get some more content for you with the guys that I roll with. They've got their shows about to debut. Just got to roll through life, you know what I mean, type of a thing. But that being said, it's got over 20,000 views. We hope that you guys just keep smashing that like button and join our cause and share it so others can join it, because remember, that cause don't stop when that clock hits zero. That being said, though, I want to get that out of the way. Also, the views and opinions of this program are not affiliated with those of any other organization. These are solely the Italian Stallion's views, as well as his guest co-hosts and any audience members that do come on. In the link up here shortly to give everybody time to speak their piece. As you know, I like to keep it around 5 minutes just to make sure everybody gets their point across of what they want to talk about. And pretty soon, like I said, you can also drive the conversation with the chat box as well. That's always been hopping for us. And again, like I said, I'm going to get that show link here shortly. Also, want to give some love to my guy, Big Game Kerry Reeves. Tune in at 8 o'clock on Tuesday night for the KR Big Game Show. He's going to have his third episode. So, definitely give him some love. If you liked being entertained by me, this guy is a wealth of knowledge. He covers everything. It's like he said, man, it ain't a big game if he's not talking about it. So, and I'm sure he'll be talking about all the fabulous college basketball and the Olympics, and of course our Super Bowl tomorrow. If you're living under a rock that you don't know that the Super Bowl's tomorrow, you may not have a rooting interest for either of those two teams, but I want to give a shout out to the Canes that are going to be playing in that game in whatever capacity that's going to be. Borregales and Leonard Taylor III there for the Patriots, Elijah Arroyo for the Seahawks. Congratulations, guys, to get there so quickly in your NFL journey. And if you are able to get a ring in whatever capacity that you guys play in this game, I mean, hats off to you guys. And another Cane will be a Super Bowl champion. And that's a special feeling. Nobody can take a ring away from you, honestly, no matter what level that is. I mean, you're immortal. So I wish the best of luck to both teams tomorrow night, as well as no injuries and just a very clean, hard-fought game that the refs don't get in the way and just let them have a fantastic game. But that being said, and also if you're watching, whether you're watching it live or recorded, make sure you smash that like button and share us. It does something for the algorithms. I also want to personally thank everybody that's watched the other 16 episodes prior to tonight, that we ourselves have gotten over 3,000 views just ourselves in just the infancy of this show. And like I said, I just like to just speak the truth. And I love to talk about our Canes, and I'm not going to fluff your ass. I'm not going to tell you, everything is peaches and everything's rainbows. I want to make sure that we not hold people unaccountable. We have to hold people accountable and make sure that we're doing everything right, because, guys, as Canes fans, we suffered. This was a fabulous run we went on, and I don't want to go anyway anytime soon, sure that we give everybody our best shot, and we owe a lot of teams a lot more ass kickings. And I hope that you feel that same way with me, and you're not just one of these people that are just, oh man, we had a nice run, and no man, no, we waited too long for this, and we've got to keep this thing rolling. I think Mario feels it. I think that the players feel it. I can already tell just from some of the workout videos that they've posted on the social media. It's crazy to think about. We're now in February, and pretty soon there's going to be spring practice. And, unlike last year, this year we're going to have a spring game. I can see why Mario and certain teams elected maybe not to have a spring game, because if somebody balled out for you, there's probably some third team representative reaching out to their lawyer or contact person through the legal channels, and they're not going to be on your team when the second portal window opened up. And now that's not an option. I mean, who you roll with is who you roll with. And still, from what I understand, there's still a lot of players who jumped into the portal and are still without. And that might be a little bit of a gut punch for them. The fact that maybe you should have stayed in the situation you were in, and you thought that your value was a little bit more. I certainly am grateful for the guys that around. I'm grateful for the guys coming in. But that being said, I do want to talk about the topic for tonight, about more so recruiting and evaluating, and where this program goes to take that next step, that we're in the conversation every year. And, sure, losses can happen, all the time. But the truth of the matter is that it's the inexcusable losses that I can't stand to inferior opponents. And, sometimes is that because was coaching the difference? Was it the X's and O's? Was it the Jimmy and the Joes? And some could argue, and people talked about that this Indiana team didn't have 5 stars or whatever. Well, in reality, Miami didn't have a lot of 5 stars either. I mean, when I show you what we've gotten the last couple of years under Mario Cristobal, there could have been some guys that were fringe 4, almost 5, but at the end of the day, in reality, a lot of the 4-star guys that Miami's gotten, especially in the first 2 Cristobal recruiting classes, really haven't lived up to the hype. And sadly, they're not even in the on the team anymore. They've moved on to other teams, and I wish them the best. I appreciate their time here, but that's kind of the topic that I wanted to show up tonight. And, I'm going to go on for a little bit if I don't have any traffic or anything of that nature. But if you're able to come on, and we can always revisit this topic in the future, but it was just something that really was coming to my mind as we were thinking about topics in the off season, just to kind of see where maybe we needed to clean up the effort, because it seems we've done better in the transfer portal last year, especially. And this year, I think that we've nailed another home run. Obviously, you've got to see the results on the field. But that being said, I do have a couple things I wanted to bring up before we got into the meat of the episode. More than anything, for my rant this week, I'm looking at the calendar, and obviously Groundhog Day passed, but, in years past, whenever that date fell on that first Tuesday or Wednesday, it was National Signing Day. And it was a day that I remember back when I was younger, just starting out, whether it was in college or whether I was, just starting out in my career, I would actually take that day off. And it was because I wanted to see who was going to Miami. And back then, for a while there, we actually used to get some really good recruiting classes. Now, we had some guys that maybe sometimes didn't live up to the billing. We lost some guys that did that infamous hat trick that would throw it. But the sad part about it is that, it's now just another day. Sure, there's some people that do some signings, the small names. I don't even know if anybody really announced their intentions of where to go at the Under Armour All-American game. I guess those games were played, but I didn't watch them. I know we had a couple of Canes that played in it, but at the end of the day, it's like, who's going to be your guys. Obviously, they have to sign on the official line in December in the early signing period. But February, man, used to be magic. I mean, in fact, those January weeks leading up to February, it was like, oh my God, did you see who's coming to visit? Oh, they canceled their visit so they could come on to us. And maybe we steal them from this program. And there's none of that anymore. I mean, as a matter of fact, the guys you're recruiting now who can probably legally come on campus are your juniors that are going to be seniors that are just wanting to get the recruiting out of the way so they can focus on whatever their goals are to win a state championship or even the mythical national championship, depending on which program they play for, if they're a big time guy, with the big time schools. But that being said, it's just really just a sad state to think about that's how much has changed. And I know things change, and maybe I'm nostalgic and I keep things to the heart. But at the end of the day, I look at it and it's like, wow, I remember that it was like wall to wall coverage. I mean, you saw whose national letter of intent came through, and it was like there was like this trickle down at the bottom, or you were reading the message boards. Oh, we got this guy's. Oh, we got this one's. And then it was like, oh man, we lost out on him. What are we going to do at this position? We were really counting on that guy. So there was like the highs and the lows, and it's just not there. If February is just February now, and it's kind of sad. It's kind of sad, and even December it kind of gets lost a little bit in the shuffle with the holidays. You kind of looked forward to that National Signing Day back in February because it was like that last little bit of college football that got you to spring, and then spring would tie you over until the magazines, and then you started learning about the training camps and things. And it's just not there anymore, and it's just really unfortunate. But I miss of staying home from work and watching ESPNU and glued to it all day. And now ESPN really doesn't even give it that much coverage. It's more CBS Sports and the On3 and these recruiting networks, and you can watch everything on the internet or stream it depending on where you're at. You don't have to stay at home or have a cable connection. It's just altogether different. But if you are my age and you appreciated that back then, where these kids would do the hat trick, would have their moment in the sun, everything like that. And it's just those days are gone, and I don't think they're ever coming back. And it's like now you sign early, and pretty soon these all-star games, they might just become just a glorified flag football game at this point, just like the Pro Bowl, where it's not worth getting hurt in, even though you're competing against the best of the best. And you may want to announce on national TV, but shit, you can announce on national TV or on one of these networks on YouTube streaming during the summer or during the season, and still get people excited and everybody watch you, and you have your own moment in the sun, and the school will put on a nice ceremony for you. And of course, the teams are excited as hell when you pick their school. But that being said, it's just really sad that it's not there anymore. Also, I want to touch on the sad state of college basketball, of how I see so many players being allowed to stay in school so long. And, there's a problem in football as well with that. Now, Miami's benefited from that, but I'm looking at this angle from it, guys, is that at what point do we finally just say, it's time to move on? And especially the guys that have moved on, like this Bediako guy for Alabama being allowed to come back. I mean, I just don't see it. It's not worth my time. And realistically, you roll with who you roll with, and you go from there when it comes to college basketball. I really just think that the best of the best are there with what you roll out. You have your set roster. Injuries and shit happen. You don't take midseason transfers or anything like that. I remember many times back in the day, there were some great ball players that maybe made the wrong decision, and they had to sit out a full damn year. And they could practice. They could sit on the bench for home games, but they could never travel with the team. And if the team happened to win a championship, they would never get a ring. I mean, that is a reality that used to be. Now, I know things have changed and everything of that nature, but at the end of the day, I just feel that it's absolutely ridiculous that if your career did not work out in the professional level, you should not be allowed to come back to college. If you didn't get drafted, that's a different story. But with the hiring of the agents, and if you took money and so forth at that professional type level, sure, I can understand you not being eligible anymore, especially when it comes to basketball. But this stuff's got to stop, and they've got to put something down at this point. COVID's long over. If you get a special reason or a special shirt that gives you an extra year of eligibility, fine. But at this point, when you've played professionally somewhere, there is absolutely no reason why you should be allowed to come back and join the team. And especially, you see some coaches that are really upset about it. And I'm sure that they've had some guys that maybe left early that shouldn't have left early with some bad advice, and they would have loved to have come back, but that's the breaks, So it's just very sad, and it really needs to be something to be looked at, in my professional opinion. And they may not do anything at all. That's the sad part about it. But that's just my rant for this week. I'm sure I'll come up with something more fire next week, to get the people laughing and everything like that. But that being said, I'm going to put the link up here, and I wanted to highlight the Miami recruiting since 2022, but I really wanted to focus on Mario's first three classes, especially the one that he kind of got with only 4 weeks time to do. And the truth of the matter is that if I was to look at that class again, I would actually tell you that more guys have actually done more for us and are still doing stuff for us from that class than some did in the 2024 group, or the 2023 group that was Mario's first official group. And sure, we had Bain and CC ball out, but there was a lot of misses in that regard when it came to the 4 stars. And some of them are not even on our team anymore. The sad part about it is you've actually gotten more out of your 3-star guys. And so the question that I pose to the chat box, as well as anybody to come on, and I'm going to put the link up here in a second, to come on and speak their piece of what their thoughts are on it, is it due to the fact that, is it bad evaluations, or is it just a lack of development? Now, sure, Miami has had some changes when it comes to the coaching department, and it's even happening this offseason. We've lost the tight end coach to Ole Miss, which I don't think is a big loss. The running backs coach, I hate losing this guy from a standpoint that he somehow has gotten these guys to buy in. We really did not have many this year, so that was something that was really big emphasis, that I really kept an eye on this year. And thirdly, more than importantly, this guy didn't just go to another college job. He got hired in the NFL. So somebody liked him enough that he's now doing the same position at the upper echelon of the NFL. And those are the type of coaches that Mario needs to bring in here, that you not only bring in a recruiting aspect, but also a development aspect. And I see where our running backs have taken a step. Now, some could argue Jordan Lyle, here's the thing. Jordan Lyle was injured. Okay. Let me reserve what we see from Jordan Lyle when he gets going this next season. And I hope he blows up, man. I mean, honestly, ankle injuries are no joke, especially for a running back. But you saw Fletcher, how he was really coming on. You saw Marty Brown run his ass off. Pringle, I'm excited about Javion Mallory when he gets there. They might redshirt him, but at least we've got some depth at this position. And now, if you're going to be playing 15 or 16 games, you need the depth at that position. But looking at the Miami recruiting, though, for those first couple of years, Mario's staff was in flux. I mean, he got some big names like Charlie Strong. Gaddis was a disaster. But realistically, a lot of the guys that you banked on, that you hoped would actually do something for this program, really never came to be. And you're kind of paying for it right now with why you're having to go to the transfer portal. Ironically enough, some of the guys that I have highlighted on past shows that are transferring in, like a Conrad Hussey, or Damone Wilson. These were guys that Miami was really, really after in those same recruiting classes. These guys picked other schools. There's nothing wrong with that. But they saw the error of their ways. And Mario's like, we still want you here. And we saw how you've balled out over there. Come help us over here. And that's exactly what we are counting on them to do, especially Wilson and Hussey. I think that definitely helps you in the defensive back well as the defensive end when you're trying to replace a stud like a Reuben Bain and a Keontae Davis and Jacoby Thomas. But that being said, though, as we look at these evaluations, the 5-star players, realistically, Mario has only gotten CeCe, Samson, Justin Scott, and Hayden Lowe, who we haven't even gotten to see yet, but I am excited as hell to see him. And these were the classes that I really wanted to focus on. Sure, we've gotten another one, but at the end of the day, we're only really getting one or two, and it depends on which publication you follow. Are you an On3 guy? I'm more 247. I think they do it the best out of everybody. I'm not very keen on ESPN. I just don't like how they do their recruiting rankings. I think that there's a lot of fluff there. I think they put more into the camps and the 7-on-7 more so than just give me a dog. And the other thing too is how important really at the end of the day are stars, because what I would like to argue is the fact is that if you look at this, and here's the link if you want to come on and talk for a few minutes with me about your thoughts about how recruiting goes. Is it the evaluations or the development issues? If you have been a fan of Miami for years, you would know that what happened, the difference between Larry Coker and Butch Davis, was Butch Davis really had some people in power on his staff. They had to be very smart with who they got because they were on a scholarship reduction. They had to find creative ways to get guys on here on a track scholarship, just how to get around probation. And you can't do that anymore, but at the time you could bend the rules and you made it work. Then when Coker took over, you saw some guys come in that definitely did the part, but there was talk about, are they just looking at the rankings and just taking anybody? Are they looking at who they're playing for? Are they looking at the competition they're going against? You then get rid of coaches that had influential and deep ties to programs and pipelines that you severed, that you shouldn't have done that. And it was years, and it still has been a problem to get back in their good graces because of those things that you did. And unfortunately, you're having to still make up for that. Mario gets it, and he's done his best, as good of a job as anybody can to get back into those schools. But things have changed too. Some of those schools that used to be powers aren't, because a lot more schools have kind of become that powerhouse, especially the IMGs and these private academies that recruit. But at the end of the day, there is still some pride for a guy that wants to play for a Miami Central or an Edison or a Carroll City, Northwestern, St. Thomas Aquinas, Chaminade Madonna. I can go on and on and on. But at the end of the day, I get it, because you want to play for the best programs and you want to make sure that you're not wasting your talents at a school that's not going to be a contender. And especially when you're playing against other guys that are really good, that gets you better. Iron sharpens iron, to take a page out of Mario's book. I agree with that. And you're starting to see how Miami looks now. And I know that he was kind of desperate, just trying to do anything he could to get his guys in there as opposed to what we used to have. Because if you look at what we had inherited and what we have now, it's day and night. I mean, you can manipulate a press book, guys. You can say that this guy is 6'5", 320 pounds. But when he goes up against a legitimate guy that size for an Alabama and gets pushed around, you know that there was some flubbing going on, because their 6'5", 320 looked a lot different than your 6'5", 320. Now we're the guys that look like that 6'5", 320 that Alabama used to have, pushing people around, dominating the lines of scrimmage. And that's where big time football is still won. Granted, Indiana made some great adjustments and they did what they could. But realistically, I blame more the offensive coordinator in Dawson in not really taking advantage of that, especially when you were going up against a team like that. And you really just flubbed the pooch. And I hope that with what you've got coming in, you don't do it again, which has been a topic of other shows. And I'm sure will be more topics of shows. And God forbid we lose a game in the regular season to an opponent we have no business losing to, with the firepower this offense could have. I don't even want to think about it. But, we're going to think positive in regards that we can make sure that we use our personnel correctly. That being said, you look at Miami's first few classes, though. I think of a guy like a Travante Citizen. I don't even know what's happened to that kid. He had a major knee injury. It sucked that it happened. We were really counting on him. It didn't work out. Things luckily have worked out for Fletcher the following year, and so forth, of who we've gotten at running back. But at the end of the day, though, guys, we have got to make sure that we're getting the right people that fit personnel. Now, again, what Miami needs to figure out is, what is their offensive identity? Sure, we can throw the ball. We've always talked about speed. It seems Mario wants to do this body blows thing where, we dominate the trenches, but at the same time, if you've got a big time quarterback that needs to be unleashed and can get the ball to your playmakers in whatever capacity is needed, and you get your playmakers in open space, game the hell on, man. I mean, it's time to just run over people. Seriously, simple as that. And what I'm interested in when it comes to what Miami's identity is, sure, we've had a different quarterback in the great Cam Ward, and whether Beck was injured or not, he made some plays at times. The running game really came through for you. Um, you know, but I think also you've had to take a lot of transfer receivers because you weren't evaluating correctly the certain guys you needed. The fact of the matter is that any wide receiver you've taken in those first recruiting classes isn't even on this roster anymore. Malachi Tony and Josh Moore were just in this last year's group, and the guys you're bringing in, absolute studs, grateful for them to be here. But at the had you gotten the right guys in here, like a hit on Ray Joseph and hit on Robbie Washington, as well as Nikar and JoJo and Robinson, then they should still be on the roster, but they're not. And this has been a problem at that position that I would like for us to get better at. The other thing is that you're still losing some major wide receivers to other programs. And could it be NIL? Sure. But at the end of the day, what programs are these guys coming from? What's the competition they're going up against? Are these guys just great in 7-on-7? I want to know how they are physicality wise in a game. And what type of things are they being taught at the high school level at these major programs that can make your job easier, that you can just focus on the playbook? Sure, you can develop somebody to make them better, but at the end of the day, it's all about executing and making sure that you get this young man prepared for the next level of the NFL. And so that's the thing that I'm focusing on as I look at Miami's group. Again, I want to highlight you have more 3 stars that have contributed than you've had 4 stars. And again, how much is it of the stars? And again, is it the evaluations by our staff? I know this staff is not lazy. It's not like the Larry Coker looking at scout.com or rivals.com and saying, like, oh, just because this guy's got a 5-star by his name, let's call him and get him in here. And then he doesn't do shit for us. That can't happen, especially with the amount of money that you're putting in and investing. Now, I've gotten sources that LSU, I mean, they have geographical points of what they're focusing on, certain people that are in charge of certain regions of the country, and they are just pumping that money in there correctly to evaluate who they need for their talent, for their identity, whether it's offense or defense. Hell, even special teams. We saw how important that was. But at the end of the day, is you got to make sure that you got the right personnel, and it starts up front. Make sure that you're getting the best of the best of the offensive line and the defensive line. Furthermore, speed kills, man. You've got to get the speed back out there, a deep threat. And furthermore, you've got to get a quarterback that's a leader of men. I'm not just talking about a guy that can make a throw here or there. No. This guy needs to have cojones. This guy needs to take the bull by the horns, and he needs to be a smart guy that everybody follows, and he cannot be afraid or let anything get in his mind that ruins and drops the ball of what is in front of you, especially when you have a chance to go back to a national championship and win this damn thing. And furthermore, improve your stock in the draft, to get drafted. Isn't that what everybody's goal as a kid is, to play in the NFL someday? If that's what your priority is, I mean, you want to play for the best, you want to be on TV. This program has shown that we're on TV, and with the schedule this year, I mean, we're on Friday nights now for whatever reason, and we're going to be that game at 8 o'clock. And again, with the way how TV is, you can always watch the replay, you can record it, all that good stuff, DVR it. But at the end of the day, it's like you can watch condensed games. But at the end of the day, why wouldn't you want to come to this program? Now, what this coaching staff needs to do, and again, the analysts, everybody that's involved in recruiting for Miami, I can't speak for other big programs, but the truth of the matter is we've got to make sure that we don't have further misses. Sure, you can get something in the transfer portal, and maybe that might be the strategy, that somebody's balled out somewhere else and you bring them here, and then they really explode. The day this program was built on the fact that we were developing kids, that we did showcase the talent. And that's where I want this program and staff to take that next step. And if I've said anything that has been off, definitely hit the chat box up. Again, I'll put this up here right now. This is the link to come on and debate it. And so that's just some of the things. I mean, I look at a Chris Graves. He was a pain in the ass for Ole Miss. I know we didn't want to deal with his father. That's why he's not on here. Wesley Basaint finished up, but he was a contributor. Isaiah Horton's on his third team now. Isaiah Horton could have been fabulous for us, but he went to Alabama and now he's at Texas A&M. But he could have been easily with Miami and showcased, but he didn't want to. And we really gave that kid a lot of opportunities out of Murfreesboro. I already mentioned Ray Joseph and Robbie Washington, long gone. Riley Williams, gone. Robert Stafford, gone. Damari Brown is still here. Colin Akiempong, you committed him and he was hurt. Malik Bryant at linebacker. Josh Horton throwing the U down at Georgia now. Popo left because he wanted to get playing time. Antonio Tripp was probably the worst offensive line recruit you had, and you took him as an undersized guy that went to IMG. And he's not even with this program anymore. And he's the reason he didn't pan out, that you've had to go for a center every year in the transfer portal. You finally have Rodriguez, who is finally back from the broken leg, that hopefully pans out for you. Or maybe it's Susu that can do that as well. But at the end of the day, you can't keep making these misses on certain guys. And again, Pancake, it's taken him a little bit longer than Cece because Pancake didn't have the best competition up there in Massachusetts. No disrespect up there. It's just they're not known for football. The guys in Texas, California, Georgia, Florida, Louisiana, those are where you want to get the best of the best. Sure, you can get an offensive lineman from the Midwest or up in Canada like we did back in the day. But again, what's the competition they're going up against? Who's developing them? Do they have good technique? Do they have good feet? Are they able to overcome injuries? Are they injury prone? These are things that also you don't have any way of knowing. But if there's a history there, you can't ignore it. You can't. There is too much invested in this. And why make your job harder if you're not doing the research and the evaluating at the beginning of it? So that is why I'm asking this point. Were the Miami misses in the first couple of classes a combination that you just didn't have the right personnel in place with the coaches that have come and gone since? Or is it the fact that you weren't taking advice from the right people that were with the program at the time? Again, I like to look at, I want guys that come from winning high school programs because losing is not an option. We had too many guys come to Miami and we were told this fool's gold thing. Oh, they're coming from this program. They don't lose in high school. And then they play their balls off. And then they start losing to the likes of a North Carolina or to a Virginia or a Georgia Tech. And then it's like, then they just accept it. And that's not us, man. That should never have been Miami. Again, we had people at the top that didn't give a shit about football. They'd lie to your face and say, we care, take your money. But no, they didn't give a shit about it. Now we have people at the top. So that's what I'm encouraged about. But with these people at the top, I want them to stay at the top because we need to make sure that the money keeps coming in here and we are allocating it correctly and not throwing it on guys that don't deserve it. Now, granted, the 2025 group, it's still very early to see what they've done. But the 23 group, which did have CC, which did have Bain and Pancake, you really have not seen much from that group. It's coming again. But when I look at 2022, look who's not here anymore, okay? Well, I'm looking at the 5 stars right now. You got Francis. You got Pancake. Justin Scott really's come on, and I expect him to take a big step. Hayden Lowe, man, he is going to be a big-time player, but that's a 2025 guy. But look at the 4-star guys. Cyrus Moss, not here anymore. Nyalik Kelly, not here anymore. Jaleel Skinner, gone. Chris Graves at Ole Miss. Kamari Rogers, gone. Wesley Basaint, just graduated. Travane Citizen, bad injury, just couldn't make it. Markeith Williams, throwing the U down, goes to Georgia. Now he's at another school. Jakari Brown, we don't need to even talk about that. And Isaiah Horton. Glenn, that was that first group that we didn't have much time. But look at the 2023 group. Ruben Bain, which should have been a 5-star. Fletcher, 5-star. Jaden Wayne was an IMG guy from Oregon, nothing. Robbie Washington, not here anymore. Ray Joseph, not here anymore. Riley Williams, another IMG guy, not here anymore. Stafford, not here. Damari Brown, still here. Collins, gone. Malik Bryant, we were hoping to really beef up that linebacker position. Malik Bryant, gone. Horton, another guy, threw the U down, gone. Popo Aguirre, wants playing time. I wish he would still have stayed and played it out. He's not here. And Antonio Tripp. So those are all your 4-star guys. Now look at the next group. Lightfoot, he's going to be a contributor. Blunt is a contributor. Zaquan Hutt off the field issues, gone. Trader, gone. Nikar, gone. Booker Pickett, guy to keep an eye on. Elijah Lofton, we really could have used him in that national title game. Can't wait to see what he brings in year 3. Chance Robinson, gone. Artavius Jones, gone. Jordan Lyle, keep an eye on him. I don't know what the situation is with the Darius Hayes, with the accident that happened, but he hopefully will be a contributor. Markel Bell, gone. Cam Pruitt, a guy I'm hoping that will take that next step. And Rudolph, gone. So what I'm getting at is that we need to stop looking at the stars, because Malachi Tony was a 3-star, and I don't know who the hell gave him that. I mean, if you just watch that kid play and his heart and how he outworks everybody, I mean, are you just looking at his size because he didn't pass the eye test? That guy had bigger balls than some big-time receivers that have come through this program that didn't do shit. Honestly, he did more in one game than guys did here in 4 years. Those are facts I'm dropping right now. And we've talked about that argument in the past. And Ed Reed, that was a 3-star, that just blew up. It's how hard you work and that you weren't entitled. But again, some of these 5-stars, like a CC, have panned out. Pancake, I'm really hoping balls out. Justin Scott has flashed at times, and Hayden Lowe is going to be the real deal. I feel that. I mean, they were hoping he'd contribute this year had it not been for the injury. And from the reports were in those bowl practices, he was almost unguardable and really getting the offense ready to go on scout team defense, going up against Markel and CC. So I just can't wait to see what he brings to the table along with Wilson and Lightfoot. I mean, we've got some dudes. And the thing of it is that thank God that we have done transfer portal, because again, I just can't make sure that like we've got to make sure that can't happen again. And Mario needs to do better with these evaluating of the prospects. So my thing to the chat box, and again, I'll probably go on for about 20 more minutes before I wrap it up. But the truth of the matter is I would just like to know, is it the evaluations that were the issue, or is it a development issue? And I know that our coaching staff has gotten tons of criticism. I am one of the ones that have done it too. But I saw some big time development with the coaches that you have now. I never was very fond of Big Joe on the defensive line. I thought he was a waste of space, and I was glad that he took the job over in Utah and went back out west. To see what Damian Lewis has done with this group has been phenomenal. Jason Taylor, I mean, the running backs coach that we just lost. Kevin Beard, I think the jury's still out on him, but I will say this about Kevin Beard is the fact is that the guys that have bought in and do play, they block their asses off. They've done better catching the ball. And hopefully the guys that we now have in and the guys that he's going after will commit to our school and stop going to that school up north to play football, like a Jeremiah Smith. We got to keep these kids home and get the right kids in here. I know you can't get them all, but again, take a look at how they do, not just in on 7-on-7, but how they do in a big time game. And are they a leader? Do they fit with your culture? We talk about that culture. We talk about a program, and you don't want any bullshit being let back in. And you had to eradicate the cancers and the bad habits. Well, at the same time, you got to practice what you preach, and you need to get the best kids in here that come from winning programs, that come from schools that have really good coaches that are developing them and really getting the best out of them and teaching them that proper technique. Because if you're not doing that, that's a disservice to those kids. That's a disservice, and I don't blame a kid for wanting to go to a different school or to a big-time program. These are very, very true things that need to be looked at in the grand scheme of things. Now, you look at some other teams, and look, we've been there, guys. We could go through all the lists of the guys that didn't pan out for us at certain positions that we absolutely needed them to, or we actually thought we had won a recruiting battle. The other philosophy of it is do they fit your system? I mean, are you going to get a 5-star quarterback in here that runs the option? No. You're going to get a 5-star quarterback in here that can make the throws and that can run your offense. Maybe they ran a similar type of offense. Maybe they're good at the RPO. Same with the running backs. Do you want big bruising back? Want a scat back? that can hit the hole and get you a home run every time. I mean, what's their issues holding the ball? Do they hold it correctly? What's their footwork, their vision? All these type of things need to be looked at. And with the amount of money and personnel that you're paying as analysts and staff and so forth, you've got to make sure that you hit on it so that way you're better than everybody else. And again, coaches can outcoach everybody. They can look at tape, they can see tendencies and things of that nature. Your job is to make sure those tendencies can be masked. Maybe you're not showing your whole sleeve, your whole deck of cards when you're getting ready for a game plan. And that's the only thing that I stress more than anything to how we move forward. And again, you look at some of these programs. I mean, I'm looking at Florida State. What an absolute dumpster fire they are right now. If those reports are true that they're that in the hole with money, that they didn't do it correctly, again, it's like, Mario and the group, when they first came in, they wanted like maybe this new facility and that's what the kids want. At the end of the day, I think maybe that was something years ago, but now they want it in their pocket. And if you just make sure that things are adequate, you've got the indoor practice facility that you even inherited beforehand because of the donation of Carol Sofer and what Rick did and all that. But at the end of the day, do we really need an on-campus stadium? I mean, here Florida State has lost their ass by expanding a stadium, and they can't even get anybody to get in there. And the people they do are in jorts, like Chris Kane said, reading Twilight, getting a tan at 1 p.m. on the CW. I mean, no, that's not us. What we need to focus on is getting the big-time players that we have the prime-time matchups, and we're whipping everybody's ass from here to damn Vegas next January. That's whoever's in our way, you're getting your ass whipped. That's how it needs to go. And again, the kids that come in here, they need to understand that we're handing the ball off to you. We move on because you're not to drop it like what happened before. And I think if you keep the people at the top and you have some continuity on the staff, again, what made Miami so great back in the 80s? Jimmy had a phenomenal staff, but those guys went on to become coaches, whether they were successful or not. Tommy Tuberville was here for a time. Ed Orgeron was here for a time. Gary Stevens, before he became the Dolphins offensive coordinator. Dave Wanstatt, whatever you think about him. Again, these guys, Butch Davis, these guys were on a staff. That's how you know you're a program again. Look at what Alabama went through with Saban. All those guys are now coaching somewhere, whether they're the head guy or they're somewhere. And he still navigated it, though. And that's where Mario needs to do as well. Mario needs to make sure that you lose this running backs coach, you get somebody better than him. A guy that can recruit, a guy that can develop, and a guy that can make sure that you are getting what fits your identity of what you want to run. And that goes for any position, honestly. Linebacker is a position that we used to own. Penn State likes to call themselves linebacker U. I would put some of our best linebackers top to bottom against theirs over the years. And I think that, if anything, we probably maybe have even more Pro Bowls at the end of the day, not just because of Ray Lewis, but other guys that have stepped up big time. And I think that that's a position that I really want to see get better. You've had a few coaches come through there. It's kind of been like a revolving door. But again, the guys have not really panned out. Traore has come from Rutgers. Chase Smith, he got one more year of eligibility. But after those two guys, I want to see some other guys develop. I thought I was excited as anybody when we ended up getting Bobby Washington Jr. or when we got Malik Bryant, big time linebackers that looked the position, kind of like what Ohio State just had with Armadas or whatever his name is. I mean, those guys were just huge. And what linebackers look like nowadays in the NFL. And luckily, we really beat their ass. But at the end of the day, we don't have that type of imposingness at the linebacker position like we used to headhunters. And, again, that's a position that I would love to get back to again. Again, you got rid of a coach in Vernon Hargreaves that was amazing at that position. Inexcusable to lose a guy like that. Randy Shannon, I know he moved on and everything, but at the end of the day, like those are the type of guys that you need coaching your linebackers and to get the best of the best in here, that you're utilizing them correctly, they're developing, and then you get the next crop of kids to come in here and not let that mantra drop. That's where I would like to see. DBs was a problem. We fixed it. Defensive line was an issue for a few years. Now it looks like we fixed it. Offensive line, my God. I mean, but I will say this much. As much shit as I gave Al Golden, they did recruit pretty decent, and he did inherit some guys like a Brandon Linder or a Chantrell Henderson or Malcolm Bunche. Those were some of the guys that did play in the NFL. But after that, it kind of dropped off a little bit. Chicolo was a great pickup during that time, but at the end of the day, you've got to make sure that you're getting chips stacked on chips and they're doing what they need to do. Simple as that. And so I'm just putting that out there that we need to pay attention to that going forward, especially with the guys that are being offered right now, and start watching for these guys to start to commit, because I think a lot of the kids are going to want to come on campus. They're going to take their visits. They're going to do their things. Some might want to get it out of their way early so they can focus on their senior football seasons and the prizes at hands at that point. And others might like the game of going to take their official visits or unofficial visits and getting wined and dined. I'd want that. Why wouldn't you? Honestly, because at the end of the day, you only get to go through this process once. But when you do have them, you need to make sure that they sign with you and they are the guy that you're counting on to continue this dynasty that you're trying to build back, and this brand that you're trying to show that we're an ass-kicking team, we're physical, and we're going to put asses in the NFL. That's another thing, too. Guys, just a few years ago, we brought this up on other shows. We barely had one guy keep the streak alive, and he was a late 7th-round pick. Otherwise, Miami would have lost that streak. Now, you're going to have some guys go, especially Bain and Cece in the first round, and that's going to start weighing on kids. Like, oh my God, look, Miami just had 2 or 3 first-rounders. I want to be a first-rounder. I want to go to Miami. I'm going to be on TV. I'm going to go up against the best. I'm going to get coached by the best so I can have my name called by the commissioner, whoever that may be, when it's my time to go. Whether it's 3 years or 4 years, whatever it takes, get there. And like I said, I have no problem with a kid ready to go and ready to go kick ass. But at the end of the day, get as much money as you can, especially now that it's legal. And for us, we need to make sure we are allocating it to where we get these kids in here and they live up to the identity that you want and that philosophy on offense and defense, and hell, even special teams. And again, more and more we will go to the transfer portal if we maybe missed on something. And I know you can't hit on all of them, but guys, there was a time where we were hitting on a lot of them. And I know people don't want to wait their turn. But at the end of the day, it's like we need to make sure that if you guys can play, you can play. And then there's a whole other topic that we need to talk about. You recruited these guys in here to the staff. You need to give them some trust. They're not going to get better if you don't trust them out there. And you have to put them in these situations. Otherwise, they're not going to get better. Practice is practice. Game situation, oh my gosh. I mean, and again, that is where you take that next step as a program that's in the conversation every time. So that's just something that I wanted to point out more than anything. And again, if anybody wants to come on, there is the link to come on and speak your piece. I'm probably only going to be on for a few more minutes. But that being said, I just wanted to bring that up. The other thing too is, to talk about, the kids coming in. I'm so excited about Mensa and Barcade, Wilson, Kiana Davis, this Merriweather kid. Maybe he didn't get a lot of snaps at Georgia. We need a kicker that can actually be dependable. This Jarquez Carter, another big gut body on there. The receivers like Jacobs and Vaughn, they're ready. Hussey, Thornton, this kid Klein. I'm just saying that these kids can definitely help us big time. Then you look at these guys that left. Bobby Washington, Tommy Kinsler, Malik Bryant. These were all 4-star guys. Derek Plaus was actually a 3-star. Emery, Donta Simpson was a 4-star. Came from a Chaminade Madonna program. Nykar, Chance Robinson, 4 stars. Ray, 4-star. Charles Brantley was a transfer that came in from Michigan State, didn't even crack the field, so he's back to Michigan State with a new coaching staff. Dalen Russell, didn't work out. Brock Schott, already to Indiana. And then, Markeith Williams, I think Amari Wallace just found a school, but Ninko Francavilla, you can do better than those guys. Jadis Richard, JoJo, didn't work out. Popo wanted playing time. He's with his brother. Artavius Jones is gone. But I'm just saying that the guys that we have on here, I hope that they take that next step. There's some guys we haven't seen yet that were pretty decent names in those classes. I think of a Cole McConaughey, or I also think of this kid from let's see here, what's his name from Cole's one. Jackson, the tight end that came in with Riley Williams. He just got hurt, and that's a guy that they're counting on at tight end. You would have thought that guy would have left, but apparently he was counted on to do some big things at that tight end position. That's a reason why Mario wanted him away from Clemson. And he just hasn't contributed. And his brother's a backup punter on the team, so he's sticking around. And they're expecting maybe him to be in the room and contribute at tight end. That's another position that I feel we can upgrade with whoever we do decide to be the next coach, with this guy going to Ole Miss. I just hope that we make the right decisions and continue to get the best out of these kids, and don't do them the disservice by not having the best of the best at each position, and guys that bring a philosophy and toughness, as well as a great eye for talent, and as well as if they have a connection to a school and a pipeline that maybe you didn't have an inroad in, that has churned out some dudes that have been against you in the past. Flip that script and get those kids to come here and fist fuck the shit out of everybody else, instead of us being the ones getting kicked in the balls from the back. That's the other thing that really would elevate this program and really take us to the moon. I mean that. I really do. So, but that being said, a couple other things I wanted to highlight today. Congrats to the Canes basketball team. I don't know what they were doing up there in BC. BC's a terrible team, in my opinion, but a win's a win. Miami really should have gotten the win last week against Cal at home. But realistically, they had a week off, that mandatory week off, before now they have to roll with it. I think that they are one of the last teams in. Had they lost that game today, they would have been firmly out of the tournament, but they're still in as one of those last 4 in, and they just got to keep winning. They're going to have an opportunity very soon to try to beat North Carolina, who just upset Duke tonight. And unfortunately, Miami doesn't get to play Duke. I don't know why that was, but realistically, Miami basketball has an opportunity. Somebody asked me, do we have a chance to win a couple of ranked opponents? And I believe that, we still have to play Virginia and we still have to play North Carolina. And both those teams won today. Both those teams are firmly ranked. And whether you play them in Miami or in North Carolina, you've got to beat them to show why you belong in the tournament. And there's still marquee wins that you can have there, but you can't lose to the BCs or the Pitts and teams that are just trash in this conference. And when you play Florida State again, you cannot lose to them. That was a terrible loss that unfortunately happened right after our national title. We were trying to honor Larinaga, and we have got to definitely get better when it comes to do. And Jai Luke is doing a hell of a job. Listen, these kids, Shelton Henderson, he needs to come back another year. The guy that they're getting to come in from Columbus, this kid, he's a 5-star kid. He's going to be part of the fold. Trey Donaldson's been great. I mean, Renault has been awesome. They just don't have a bench. And, and unfortunately, there's a kid that, has the cancer, unfortunately, that he had to sit out. And I hope that he's able to come back. And realistically, I just think that what Jai Lucas has done in 1 year, I said Miami was going to be a tournament team. People laughed at me, but I said, dude, this Jai Lucas can coach, man. He can recruit. And you look at how Duke was prior to the NCAA tournament when he was running their defense. If Jai Lucas is still on staff with Duke, they probably figure out the Houston conundrum and beat Florida, and they cut down the nets with Cooper Flagg in that group. When Jai Lucas left Duke and was already getting his shoes on the ground running and gets into Uchefu and whatever he can to get us to this team. I'm telling you, man, this guy can coach. And if we can just give him a little bit more NIL money that we can really contribute, oh my God, could he take this program? I mean, because we showed we've won before. Look what Larinaga had to work with. And I've got a comment. So what's up, Rocky? How you doing, sir? Hope you're doing well. Thank you for the love. But yeah, if they can just elevate, give a little bit more NIL money to Jai Lucas, maybe he can get into the conversations with some of these five-star guys. And it matters in basketball. I just watched Caleb Wilson be the absolute difference for North Carolina against Duke. North Carolina doesn't have Caleb Wilson. They're not even in that game tonight. Okay? I'm looking at Arizona with all their five stars, Awaku, Koa Pete. That team looks like they're going to go undefeated. Look at Florida. Now they're on their damn, like they needed a help. Now they're a basketball school. Fuck them. But at the same time, it's like you look at them, man, they're kicking some ass. And right when they need to be. You want to be playing your best basketball as you get into March, not November. and they're right there. Look at them, you know? And that coach, he can coach, man. I hate his guts, but he can coach. And this is even losing that backcourt. But that being said, Miami, they just got to just take care of business. Maybe steal one from Carolina and Virginia. They beat those two, and they secure like one of those first four double buys in the ACC tournament. Last year we didn't even make the ACC tournament. This year, I mean, you get a top four bid, or maybe even just in that top five. Win that 4-5 game, be playing in the semifinals. You're firmly in, man. You're playing with house money. Maybe you go on a run. Maybe Carolina or Duke get knocked out. It's happened before in the ACC tournament. But at the end of the day, we have an opportunity with Jai Lucas and Miami because I enjoyed that Final Four run a couple years ago. And he's going to get kids that are hungry, that buy into his philosophy. He's got a great staff. Again, if some money can get allocated there, you watch. This Miami program has every opportunity to be competitive in every male sport, as well as the women's sports. I mean, honestly, we could. But again, football, basketball, and the baseball team with Artiega coming in preseason 21, I'm excited to see what step they take. And I was one of the guys that hated Artiega. I thought you should have just done a complete sweep and moved away from the Morris and Damare group and just start fresh. Get some new meat in here, new blood, somebody that has a new vision, that understands what we need to do to become that program again. But Artiega surprised me last year, and I'm willing to give him a chance just like I gave Mario. But again, I want to hold you accountable because I remember how good it was under Jim Morris in the early years and Ron Frazier. All right, that's how long I've been around. I remember how good it was with Leonard Hamilton. I mean, I still hate Michael Jordan that we lost Leonard Hamilton, and he had such great success at Florida State. You know, he would have done great things at Miami. He was doing great things with Miami when Helmsley and Tim James. You know, honestly, we had some great guys back then. Bland at center. But I mean, I'm just saying that we need to be a program that kicks ass in all the sports and give the biggest fuck you to Tobacco Road and North Carolina and all those head guys over there that have those deep tobacco ties. Honestly, North Carolina wants to leave this conference. Let them leave. Let Clemson leave. Let Florida State leave. We can stay here. We can have teams come to us, and we'll be our own team, kicking ass in every sport and winning championships because that's what it's all about. It'd be amazing if Miami could do that in a calendar year. We almost did. There was a year, guys, we won the 2001 national championship in baseball and football, and we actually started that basketball season like 14 or 15 and 0. It was like a joke that we were like 68 and 0 in all three sports, man. It's a true story. And it could happen. Especially this baseball team can take off. But I'm excited. It's a great time to be a Miami fan. And realistically, rock your damn gear, man. Throw that U up. Walk proudly, man. Let me just tell you something. We just went toe-to-toe with America's darling. And we were 45 seconds away from stealing it. And I was watching Rocky the other day. No pun intended. There was a sequel. And I'd love to get one more shot at those guys. Honestly. Whether they have Mendoza and they've lost them, if that motherfucker Signetti gets his guys back there in Vegas, I hope we're right there and we're ready for the sequel. Because Rocky had a sequel against Apollo. And I would never even compare that group to Apollo. But what I'm saying is, We weren't even supposed to be here, guys. But if we can be that team that is the contender, is the Drago, is the it, honestly, that can look at the other opponent and say, you soft. Give that to me every fucking day. Because I love this program and I want to dominate every team we play in any sport. Because I was born in the 305. I may die somewhere else, but in my heart, I am all Miami. So, but that's all I got. As far as Super Bowl tomorrow, I've still got the Seahawks, the Patriots 28-17. I like that number. I don't know if my number will hit on that board, but that's who I've got. And I'm looking for a good game. I think that the Seahawks defense is going to be just a little bit much, announce themselves, and they get revenge for what happened 10 years ago. But that being said, that's my thoughts. I want to thank everybody that watched it. We didn't bring anybody on, but next week we'll be on our regular time, 8 o'clock. Next Sunday night. I want to thank each and every one of you that tune in, whether you watched it live or you watched it recorded. Please share it. Please punch the hell out of that like button. And more than anything, guys, continue to speak your piece, walk high, and throw that U up. And just remember, at the end of the day, guys, we have had just an amazing, amazing run in the football. And I mean this when I say this, guys. I'm just so grateful that we got to be a part of it, and I don't want this ride to end, and there's no reason why, with who we've got coming back, that we don't fucking get back there to Vegas, and a year from now, we're still celebrating and smoking those cigars the way we need to. Thanks for joining me, guys. Have a wonderful Super Bowl weekend. Have a fantastic week, and speak your piece, and go motherfucking Canes. Stallion is out.
I'm the stallion, speaking loud, no chains. From the heat of Miami where we play no games. Boxing gloves down, but my mouth still swings. Trash talk sharp like a scorpion stings. Stallion speaks. Yeah, the truth don't hide. Unfiltered raw. Feel the fire ignite when the stallion speaks. There's no polite. From the edge of the ring to the edge of your seat, I'm the